And we're back with some more Strokes of Sphinx. Anyway, we're about to just rip out a whole bunch of stuff here and replace it with a new optimized layout so that we can cram more people in here and do stuff better. But before I go through the layout, I just sort of want to cover something real quick. When it comes to designing any module for a game where you're trying to like optimize something, like Factorio, Satisfactory, stuff like that, I'm always reminded of this article. It's from 2010. It's a guy who beat SimCity 2000. I mean, you can't really beat SimCity 2000, but this guy wanted to maximize the amount of people you could put into a city. I think he got 9 point something million. But to squeeze in that many, sacrifices had to be made. Yeah, this is the bit that's important. They don't rebel or cause revolutions in social chaos. No one considers challenging the system by physical means, since their hyper-efficient police state keeps them in line. They have all been successfully dumbed down, sickened with poor health, enslaved, and mind-controlled just enough to keep the system going for thousands of years. 50,000 years to be exact. And that's the line that I find the most chilling. He's actually figured out how long the system can run for before it eventually collapses under its own weight. But yes, I can admire something like this. It took the guy like 3 years and a whole bunch of diagrams and like there's a whole story behind it, but it took him 3 years to develop this. Me, I would have given up after like a few days. I would have put in like a week or so, and then I'd be like, yeah, I'm good with that. I would have got up my results after that, and I would have been quite happy with it. So when it comes to designing this system, do remember, I'm not going to go this crazy. This guy claims to be completely normal, but I have questions. Anyway, with that out of the way with, this is my attempt at optimizing Strongs of Sphinx. You see, what I've done here is I've put in just enough services in here to keep everyone happy. Well, as best I could. There's some changes in the final version after I realized a few things. So let's just cover what exactly all of this benefits you, and the easiest way to do that is we'll just grab the humans. There's only 100 of them here. Right, let's go under services. Now, services is the most obvious one where you get your gains. But what we're really trying to max out here is this little fulfillment thing up here. You see that says 50.9 out of 92.7. That's basically of all the potential fulfillment they could have from all the different things that are out there, it would all add up to 92.7. And we have 50.9 for this for all the humans. For example, the elves are at 51. For some reason, the Cretonians go up to 93. They actually have more options. Everyone's a little bit different. However, this results in you getting a percentage. And this percentage at the end, if you'll notice it's there, it's 2.88974. That's sort of the averaged out number. And where that comes in important is up here under happiness. And you see that fulfillment there has that little percentage sign beside it. And then below fulfillment, there's expectations. Now, the reason for that is our expectations are currently 1.0596, and the more population you add to your place, the higher that goes. So if you're fulfilling someone's needs now, it doesn't matter if you keep those needs up consistently. If you keep adding more and more population, eventually you're going to not be able to support them because you won't be able to hit all their fulfillment needs, which means you need to add on more and more fulfillment to keep putting people over the top. So what we're trying to do here is optimize it to get as much fulfillment as possible without killing ourselves. Now, to pick a standard issue block size, I went with 44 by 44. Now, the reason for that was very simple. 44 by 44 will fit in all of this housing. If we put in a whole bunch of individual housing, we can fit in those houses in a complete block shape of 44 by 44 on each side. So this field will overlay perfectly over that, meaning we can rotate the houses, put them left or right, up or down, and they will still fit in. So then the plan was we're going to put in a 44 by 44 brick in the middle and put all our services in there, and then we can, fit 9 things around it, or possibly maybe a little bit more if we're feeling adventurous. And then it was a case of trying to cram in everything, but then I had to figure out which ones were actually the most important. And this is where I actually started to pick up on some of the game mechanics that I hadn't been paying attention to. Okay, so lavatories here are worth 3. There's actually 3 points you get from them, for example, as opposed to hearts. Hearts only give you 1 point. So getting your lavatories maxed out, or as high as you possibly can, is worth 3 times more than getting yourself up a hearth, or healthcare, or a new spot. In fact, hearts, healthcares, and new spots only would only give you the same amount of points as 1 good lavatory. And I suppose we have all used single-ply toilet paper at some point in our past, so we all understand how important a good lavatory is, so that kind of makes sense. You can also see there's a bunch of other stuff in here as well. Let's see, good or high value ones. Arenas are pretty high value. The problem is to build them is kind of huge. For example, this is a mid-sized arena I've built here, which is that size. You can go with a grand arena. Problem is, it takes up a lot of space, and the gains are actually pretty minuscule. Right now we're at about, 53%, but we get up to, that goes up to about 73, assuming we've got people who fight in it. Currently there's no one fighting, so it's just going to keep going down and down because there's no slaves. This needs to be consistent, so Considering it'll max out at 73 at a mid-sized one, I was okay with that. Stages, turns out you can just build massive ones. I was hitting the E key to try and maximize. It turns out you just go up here, there's bandstands and pavilions. One pavilion seems to do this entire area, and we can support about, say, 1,200 people and keep them all at pretty much perfect happiness. I mean, look at that. 94% on that. We have one new spot, and yeah, that's keeping everyone as well at 88%. Could probably put in a second one, but it's not really that necessary. Drinking establishments, very important. That actually gives you a +2. And this is actually quite small, and it supports the entire area. I made my more recent one just a tiny tad bigger. But yeah, small amount of drinking area, that gives you a whole 2 points to work with. However, there's two expensive ones here. Baths, which were really hard to sort out, and I don't think I've quite figured them out yet, and meals. This is heated meals. They give 2.5 apiece, each one of these. I need to spend more time on baths and more time on meals. But the meals I had to leave out because we just literally did not have the space, and it takes up an enormous amount of space to put them in. Plus, we already had meals going, so I wasn't too worried. But I put in a ginormous bath section down here. It still is not keeping them happy. I think I needed to make it more distributed. Oh, and there's a few other things as well, like under religion, graveyards and crypts. How does this work? Well, I'm glad you asked. Rhetorical question, person. Right at the moment, everyone has nothing in graveyards or crypts. Now let's just turn on this graveyard. Now this graveyard is not a perfect graveyard by any means, but it should be perfect for our demonstration. Now you see graveyard theory is at 0. Then we will start the game playing. And what do you think of that? It went up to 80%. The reason it went up to 80% as opposed to 100 is we don't have enough graves in it. That's literally it. You need a certain amount of graves per capita. So let's just turn this one off instead. And then, of course, immediately that's going to bottom out. And yeah, there we go, bottomed out. Then what we're going to do is we're going to turn on this section. We are going to turn on both the crypts and we're going to turn on the graveyards. It has no matter if there's any pawns in them or not, or anyone's buried. This will just, boom, both of those are now maxed out. And that's an easy 3 points. All you have to do is make sure you have a reasonable amount of these compared to your population. In fact, I am just going to build one of these for every 9 segments we build of one of these things. And we should be able to hold about 1,200 people per chunk. Yeah, just little things like that. And that gives us another set of bonuses that go into our fulfillment. Occupation-wise, I can't help with that. Government-wise, definitely put in, where is it? This thing, stocks. Stocks today just stick criminals in them and people throw fruit at them and things like that. Makes them all happy. That's actually a cheap one, though it's not worth it. It's only worth about 0.5, but considering how small it is and how easy it is to fit in, go for it. I also stuck in an execution section, but again, this is only temporary. It's only when slaves and stuff come in or you capture people or stuff like that. Judgment, pretty handy actually. Just have a judges area around so that people can get judged. That's about everything for government. However, the judging section I didn't put in here. I actually am going to have that as a separate module, and you only need one for your entire colony. That's it, as far as I can tell. For environment, there's not really a lot you can do with several of these. Build roads everywhere is one, but for building preferences, there's really much of a muchness. Putting everyone into, like, it's going to lose you so little, it's not really worth the effort. Or you can go into a lot of micromanagement to make sure the dwarves stay in stone houses, make sure the elves stay in wooden houses, all that type of stuff. But it's an awful lot of micromanagement I am just not willing to do. I don't have 3 years. But climate and others you can't really change. Climate you can't really change. It's basically decided when you pick your tile to settle on. Others, that's how many different races of different species you have there. You're going to kind of be limited on that because you're going to need certain races to do certain things. So you're kind of stuck there too. Squareness, roundness, I don't care. It's just squareness is far more efficient. I'm not rounding things out. It would make building this just so much harder. Just don't leave corpses lying around the place. Noise, you can't really do much about. Lighting, put in 1 torch. I put in 1 torch, everyone's got 78%. It's grand. That's it. That 1 torch is providing 78% lighting for this entire, well, for everyone, because they all come around here to get their news, their stage, all that stuff. So, yeah, not really much you can do about it. As for awe, I used to try to put statues everywhere, but it turns out most of the people who like awe only like it a bit. Whereas most of the people who like harmony, which is nature stuff, they like it a lot. Basically, the Kryptonians and the elves really like awe and dread, whereas really like nature. Whereas everyone else, the humans and the dwarves like awe, but okay, the dwarves have 1.5 and all, the humans only have 1. So I figured it was just better to go with the harmony. Plus, most people are getting a little bit of baseline awe from the roads they're walking on, as long as you have decent roads. So I've put down a few trees here and there to help out with things, just to get harmony up a bit, because it was free cheap points lying around the place. So that's religion, environment, occupation, government, services, access. For this, it's how much clothes you give them. Give them 2 pieces of clothing is usually a decent trade-off. That'll get them up to about 50%. But in all fairness, that it's 50% of 2.5, so you get about 1.25. Giving them clothes is a great way to get it, but late game, you can max this out for quite decent gains. Food, very important. All you do is make sure that at your food areas, put down all the available food types because they will serve them all, and as long as everyone has access to all of them, you get the points. Pretty straightforward, actually. You just stick in one of these and, or a canteen, or one of the canteen ones with the cooked ones, same thing again. Keeping a giant stockpile of food makes everyone happy, so keep that quite high and you get yourself a free 2 points. We only have 11 days of food, cranked it up to about 25 or so, I believe, and they'd be mostly maxed out on that. So keep their food preferences and the days they have food as high as possible, just to gain a few extra points here and there. You can also increase it by increasing their rations. If you give them more rations, you can see it slowly crawling up there as they get more and more fulfillment out of it. Out of a potential 4 points, you can get a lot of points out of this if you're willing to throw food at the problem later on. For now, we don't need that sort of thing, but I think later on you're probably going to want to be handing out more food. Though in that instance, you might have to actually double up on the sides of these things, which might be more of a complication than I'm willing to deal with. Really, this is more about just efficiently allowing us to stamp down large things very quickly and move on, because the more time you have to stop spending redesigning everything, the less time you have getting things built. A few side notes. People don't need to visit these crypts to actually get the bonus from having crypts, so I deleted them in the final model. They don't need to visit graveyards or crypts. They don't really care about them. Just so long as they exist, they're happy, and they don't even have to be within inside a certain range or radius. 2, wells are a pain in the butt. I don't know what's going on here. Maybe I need to spread them out and have a little bit everywhere, but the access for wells right now is absolutely horrendous at about 30%. So I'm thinking these wells are supposed to affect areas like huge swaths of area. Look, it's supposed to go out to here. But people don't have access. How do you not have access? There is several freaking wells. It doesn't matter if I have one well or several. I don't know. That needs more research. Physicians, they're barely worth anything and take up so much space. This is worth 1 point. That's it. This is worth 3 points. True, it requires drink, but still, this thing takes up less space and provides more bonuses. But, you know, hey, it's 3 points, so we might as well take them. With this as a template, I use that to design the final one, which I can show you here. It looks a little bit cleaner and nicer. To add to this and make it a little nicer, I stuck in some bathhouses on either side. I figured this would help with the accessibility issues we were having in the design version. So there's one each side here. We just ripped out some housing. Each one of these chunks can normally handle about 240 people, roughly, I believe. So this just eats a little bit into our housing, but that's okay. We can move the housing elsewhere. That's pretty easy to do. I also put in the fanciest of fancy floor tiles here to increase people's awe percentage. This gives, 50% awe if people stand on it for a while, and they stand around here to view the stage, and to listen to news, and to throw stuff at people on stocks. So, this all worked out quite nicely. And we've even got a couple of extra tiles of space here provided by the bathhouses. At the same time, we stuck in a canteen here. It requires coal, so we've got some coal outside along with all the other foods, and we've got booze right here to go out, feed into our tavern. But this means we just have a little bit more capacity. Or you can check here. Yeah, this is maxed out, 100%. We're probably going to need one about 3 times the size just to service everyone here, and that seems like a lot of space that I'm not willing to put in. Now, with that done, that means we have a template we can just stamp down. Oh, and here's the graveyards. So this means that as long as we keep about, say, 1,200 people in this area, we'll need one more housing block, we should be able to support all of them with sufficient services to get them up to about 50 or percentage points or more of fulfillment. Probably a little bit higher once we get the religion sorted. We didn't have religion in the other place, and we do have a giant religious temple down here to keep everyone happy. So the plan would be, you're going to replace this here, and then just sort of rip out everything starting in the top left and ripping it out all the way to the bottom right and replacing it with our new standard model of efficiency. Yeah, this could take me a while. Now, here's some standardizations I made earlier. Here's a university that's going to fit in, administration, library, and laboratory. This allows me to just, this is going to be a whole bunch of universities we chuck in here. Once these universities are complete, we can rip out all these old ones. In fact, we might as well just rip out all these old ones now. Bye-bye. And done. And also frees up some resources to build these universities. So, that just means we can rip out this whole section, move it over here, then we can start replacing this with this. Yeah, this might take another minute or 3. That looks a little bit more organized. Okay, down here, not so much, but up here, it's starting to take on a nice grid pattern. A few things we chucked in. We have put in all of our universities right here. We have moved all of our research laboratories over here. We were actually able to fit in quite a few in that section. We've also put all of our libraries over here and one of our admin buildings. That's all, really. The rest is all going to be housing and locations for people to stay. Can we check on the housing overlay? Yeah, we have plenty of space left, don't we? Totally. We've even got a few vacancies. This is excellent. Now we're just putting in one more auroric pasture up here for our mega cow project. And then what we can do is start ripping all of this out. Now we've got unfortunately some graves here. We can't rip those out until the bodies decay. That'll take about 19, 20 days or something like that, depending on when was the last time someone went in there. To stop them putting more fresh bodies in, we've just basically deactivated them. Once you've turned them off, no more fresh bodies go in. They'll have to use, well, alternative forms of burial. That means we can sort of rip out this whole section here and sort of extend this on. Now, I'm not sure if I want to put... See, I'm not sure if I want to take this entire grid and say, put one... Like, have that as housing, and then have that over here as more services, or... Oh, have that as a pasture, then housing, then services. Yeah, I think I might prefer to do it that way. Just we'll have pastures in between every area. Like, this whole area will become covered in pastures. More cows, the better. We are going to need a lot of leather, and we do have a lot of map to work with, so, give me a minute here. Well, we've got this area a little bit prepped, but what's about to happen next is going to be one of the more interesting copy-paste jobs. We grabbed this entire central area, the 2 bathhouses on either side, and the graveyard. That should be everything we need to bring over to this section. And then we gotta somehow... Oh, no. We gotta squeeze that in right there. Okay, well, a bunch of it's going into the mountain. I suppose that... Yeah, that's it. Whatever. Close enough. We'll have to make a few paste adjustments later on, but oh my god, what's going on over here? You know what? This mountain's gotta go. I'm sorry, but the whole thing is gotta go. There we go. That should free up a little space. Oh my god. And why did that road stop whatever went down there? You know, maybe that's another road. I'm not even sure half the stuff we're copying here. Also, I'm pretty sure the graveyard didn't get copied because we've got another graveyard down there in the way. But it's fine. It's fine. Just so long as we get this in place, we can start rejuvenating this entire section. It's beautiful. It looks exactly the same as the other one. And it does exactly the same things. Yay! Well, okay. We put in, we moved all of our training for our melee people over here. I'm going to move all the military stockpiles as well, though I still am waiting on this crypt. Like, whoever's in that, would you rot? Seriously? Please, just rot already. I want you gone. Once your corpse is gone, we can rip out this whole section. We can't touch this until the corpse is gone. I think we might get a desecration negative, but... Anyway, with that mostly done, I think we're probably going to put in one batch of housing and then something else down here. Probably all of the military stockpile stuff. All the military stockpile stuff and the import depots for it. And then maybe a few other things. But what we're going to do over here is put in another grid pattern design. Exact same thing again. Though this time we're not going to have the work pastures in the middle. They're just there for... Well, they were more placeholders than anything else. So that means... yeah, do this faster, please. Well, that took a few days, but a town has been born. Whole thing finished, even the graveyards and everything. Let's actually check on the happiness of our elven community. How are you doing on services front? Yeah, well, okay, we haven't quite reached everyone with everything we need, but religion-wise, yeah, everyone's happy with their graveyards and crypts. Perfect. See, nice big 200% bonus going on there. Excellent. Faith-wise, yeah, everyone's on the same page. It's grand. We also picked the wrong religion. We should have picked the green one. It allows us to get access to some giants, but whatever. Next playthrough. For now... Oh, yeah. This is the only thing that I have to manually set up still. Mushrooms, meat. And once I have all of those done, I have to do the same down here, though I have to include drink and coal as well. Reason being is this place here needs coal to run. The canteen needs coal to run. Also, it feeds the bathhouses, and this place here needs the booze. But this place also needs the food, as far as I can tell, so we also have to do all the food things as well. They could take from over there, but I like, you know, redundancy. With that all done, it's time to actually stamp down what we want here. For 1 second, you guys can all go. We can remove all of these. Once they're gone, what we can do now is transfer all of this. I want to transplant all of our metal production. The smelters, we might even expand it out a little bit. So all the smelters have got to go, all the carpentry's got to go. All of them have to be migrated up here. So we'll put in a bit of housing first, just to make sure that there's some support services, to go with the support services. And then we'll probably put in the smelting here and the smelting and carpentry here. Give me a min. This area is completely done, and it is beautiful. Turns out these metal smelters we'd made ages ago, yeah, they actually fit in here just perfectly. Even left a little tile at the end so that we could stick in a few little hauling stockpiles for ore, coal, things like that. Same thing with all the smithies, the mechanics, the carpenters. We've also the 2 carpenters here. We were able to just copy and paste those super quick right over. And we stuck in a giant warehouse. Now, the reason for the giant warehouse is we had to replace some of the ones we had going around the place. And, well, I went a little bit against my normal tactic here. Now... This thing is actually about 15 tiles wide. I don't normally do this. Let me just actually show you why. So normally I build 7-tile wide buildings. You build 7-tile wide buildings, you don't have to worry about instability in the center of the roof. You go 1 tile beyond that, you start getting that yellow, which increases this extra cost, which makes it harder to maintain the room. However, what we did here was we went, oh, damn it, we went all the way out to 15 tiles. And this is where you have to start putting in pillars. Now, there's a few ways to do this. The two main ones are you put in 3 blocks like that, 3 tile gap, 3 more blocks, and it completely supports the entire roof. So realistically, all you're doing is gaining yourself 3 tiles every 6. Oh, sorry, overdid one. But yeah, that's sort of what you're building in here. So you've got these 3 extra tiles to work with, but they rarely come in useful. Reason being, people have to be able to get in there. If you put something across here that seals off this wall, no one can get in here and it causes problems. So in general, I just tend to avoid it. Oh, there is other options you can do. You don't have to do 3 and 3. You can do 2 tile gap, then 2. Same thing, and you can also do 1 tile gaps. It's pretty much they're your only options when it comes to doing this. Now, I went with 2 tile gaps with this warehouse. So what happens is we were actually able to stick in just a few extra crates. But in general, I don't really consider it worth the effort. The amount of time and effort it takes to design it, I usually prefer to make a 7-tile wide room that I can just copy-paste, or a 6 or even a 5. Some of the rooms are actually better off being narrower. Oh, actually, that's a good point. Where is it? I've got an asylum around here somewhere. Now, asylums, you see, actually work out perfectly for that because these cages can just fit in at just the right width, so 7 tiles wide is perfect. And then where is a 6-tile wide building? Smelters. Smelters are the perfect example. Smelters, I ended up making them 6 tiles wide, namely because they only need 6 tiles for these box things in the middle. It's 4 tiles wide for this bench, 1 tile either side for them to fit in, and then you stick in the little support buildings at the bottom. Next thing you know, you're done. And you only need to make a 6-tile wide room for it. Now, you could make it 12-tile wide room, but that, actually, no, you need a 13-tile wide. You can make them wider, but you're generally just doubling down with a few extra tiles of space that are really hard to fit in, and I'm just not bothered. I'm too lazy. So, anyway, this module is finished. Housing, 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 and housing. So 5 blocks of housing means it can support about 1,200, well, yes, say 1,200 people-ish. Then we've got all our metal smelting, all of this stuff down here, the storage, more carpentry. And then over here, we've got 2 asylums to store all the crazy people. And sandwiched right in the twiddle, yes, right in the twiddle here, we have chambers. Now, chambers are basically nobles' places to stay. I had a bunch of people who were still homeless, namely the nobles. Why do we still have homeless nobles? Come on, there's like a whole bunch of chambers here. What are you doing? And what is wrong with that place? Where's the bed? Why is there no bed in that place? 2, 3, 4. Why are you guys not going to your houses? God damn it. Stop wandering around like a homeless bum. Come back here. You. Why won't they go in here? They're perfectly reasonable locations. Okay, fine, there's some crazy people on either side banging on the walls, but it's not like there's a comfy bed at least. Just, Muppets. Maybe on reload. Over here we've got our mass export. We've got, oh yes, all of the hides we're exporting, more hides we're exporting, and the meat we're exporting. Yes, that's this entire area. Done. Finished. Now we've gone over here, and what I've done is, so this mountain kind of got in the way, so we chopped the mountain down. There's a bit of the mountain left here. Currently, we're getting rid of that. But once that's gone, this will be the entire mountain cored out. We cannot put ranches under here. Even though they actually have fertility rankings for the soil, which is, what's the fertility on that? 46%, like 60, 70. There's fertility down here, it's just there's no sunshine. Turns out the cows need the sunshine, or maybe it's the grass. Whatever, one or the other, they want sunshine there. But we can at least build housing, or sword fighting, or maybe archery, whatever. There's places over there. I think the archery section is going to go down in here. I mean, there's not really a lot of buildings, unique ones left. I think we've got to put in a courthouse, and I think that's about it. Wait a minute. There's an asylum down here. That asylum can go. We don't need your asylums. We got plenty of asylums already. Alright, so, this section here needs to go in, and I'm way over time again, aren't I? Before we go, though, there's one thing we desperately have to do, and that is move the throne room. I think I'm going to move it in here. Yeah, this is probably going to be the most central location, so the throne room can go right there. Yeah, you can go in between, like, the trees and the well. I think you're supposed to move that to somewhere well fortified, but our fortress is the amount of people we have who are of fighting age. Done. Now, all of this stuff over here is grain. There's grain falling on the ground because that's actually taxed, and I have not set up locations to store that stuff. Oh, there is one neat trick you can do that... let me try and demonstrate it here. If you grab roads, and while a building is still being placed, you place a road over the wall, it actually replaces the wall. So what we could do here is, it's going to look stupid funky, but let's try it. We're going to replace all the walls with roads. I have been avoiding doing this. You could technically save space doing this, but I don't want to do it because I figure it's a bug and at some point it'll get patched out, so I want to have designs that I can, next time I come back and play it, I can actually use them, as opposed to coming back and finding out that all the exploits I've been doing have been patched out. So for example, both of these are just mirrors of each other, this one and this one. Just this one has no walls, and you'll see this one does. So you can see this place actually has several roads and a lot more movement space between it. So you can do that to get rid of the walls or trim them down, or I don't know. I don't exactly know how that works. All I know is that it does. What the... You know what? I'm just going to leave those there. It's fine. It looks a little bit ugly, but I'm not going to complain. I sort of did it on purpose. It was just too fugly. I couldn't leave it there. I just couldn't. It was... Ugh. I ripped it out and replaced it. Or I should point out, when you build inside mountains, you end up with the same thing. All the walls get... I don't know, I presume they're using the mountain as support, so you don't need walls inside mountains, which is why it looks a little bit off inside there. That's fine, we're going to be building a bunch more stuff in there anyway. Probably all over the mines. We don't really need those as far as I can tell. But I'm way over time. I should have this out already. It's just a case of I can't stop playing it, but at the same time, I'm trying to figure out why this game is so addictive. I literally spent an entire day trying to figure out how to cram all of this stuff in, and I'm sure, yeah, it could be done better. Give me another couple of days, I'm sure I could refine it down some more. Ooh, if anyone has any good designs out there, I'd be more than happy to take a look at them. I would love to see if there's any more efficient ways of doing this, and I'm pretty sure this canteen is not the best idea. So let's have a quick look in here. How's everyone doing on their services? Ah, that looks actually a big improvement since when we started. And we still haven't gotten everyone integrated into one of the new systems. Wells are still terrible. Why are the wells always terrible? How many wells do you need for these people? I mean, none of them are overloaded. This one here, what's your service load at? Your service load is at 75%. Do I have to, like, put a well every 5 houses or something? Muppets. Anyway, I am going to cut this out here for today. I think in the background I should have done more of this in the background. It was just, I spent way too long into the design phase. I'm going to have to start moving this around some more because we have to finish this off. We need to get up to about, I think it's 5,000 or 6,000 population, then it triggers the endgame guy to come for you with a large army, and we need to, like, get prepared for that. That should hopefully not take too long. Hopefully. Anyway, I'm going to cut this out here. I hope you enjoyed it. Good luck.